All right, 8:15 right on cue. It's Thursday evening. I can't believe how fast this week is going. Maybe it feels like it's going faster because we've got some stuff to talk about for early next week. A couple of showers at the end of this week. We're talking later tomorrow afternoon and into the evening, mostly north of 80 and mostly in an area where you've got hills. So if you're in the valley, I doubt you'll see anything tomorrow. The clouds are going to increase through the afternoon, but any plans for your Friday night, good to go. Weekend plans also should be good to go. Roads in the Sierra may be a little bit slick from 80 on northward around sunrise on Saturday morning. There may be a little coating of some ice out there if we get a couple showers that come through right before sunrise. But otherwise, what we're going to talk about for, all right, pretty much from here on out for this live weather chat is our storm that we're watching for next week. So over the last couple of days, we've been carefully watching the models. They've been changing, as they typically do. Yesterday it was looking like widespread rain and possibly some heavy snow. Maybe you saw some social media posts about that. Those posts and the changes that we saw today are why I don't post things like that 6 or 7 days out from a storm. And we're now, 4 or 5 days out from the storm coming through. So there's still a lot to be determined. Things are going to change again. They always do. It doesn't mean the forecast is wrong. Don't know the forecast is wrong until the weather's actually happened, right? So forecasts always evolve. And we're going to be providing you those updates every way we can over the next 4 or 5 days or so until this storm comes through. All right, let's get right into it. See if there's any comments or questions just yet. Nothing on the KCRA page. Vicky on my page is checking in from Oakdale. Will it be windy? So that's a fairly easy one at this point. Right now it doesn't look like wind is going to be a problem. As these storm systems come through, it's going to be breezy. As we get, say, Saturday, Sunday, that's when our models that really pick up on wind speeds can do a good job with telling us, are we looking at 15 to 25 mile an hour winds? Are we looking at 20 to 30 mile an hour winds? Those are specifics we can better answer this weekend, but at this point, wind does not look like it's going to cause damage anywhere in Northern California. So fingers crossed it stays that way. Let's see, we've got a bunch of people watching on my page. Thanks about your questions. Wayne is asking about freezing. Wayne, are you asking about the snow level? If you're talking about the snow level, again, this is something where we can really get in on the specifics here in a couple of days. But our first sort of ballpark that we talked about today on TV was anywhere between 6,000 and 7,000 feet. Likely staying above lake level in Tahoe, lake level 6,200 feet. Probably staying above that for most of the time. So if you're thinking, the resorts are going to get some snow, it's not looking like that. And even the snow that does fall around Tahoe, the way it looks right now, it's not going to accumulate all that much. But the snow level, generally, I'd say 6,500 feet and above. That is still low enough that it could get slushy over Donner and Echo Summit Monday night into Tuesday. All right, there's a couple questions off the top. Someone's chiming in. Joe is talking about a forecast he saw somewhere for Fairfield. Well, that's what you saw. I'll show you what we're talking about here. All right, here's the rainfall map that Dirk and I put together earlier this afternoon. The time period we're talking about is Monday evening through Tuesday. That's a healthy dose of rain. So what's going to happen is our storm system is actually dropping in from the north. The center of it is going to stay off the coast. So that's why you're seeing bigger rain amounts along and west of I-5, especially south of Highway 50. But notice the foothills north of Highway 50, still a decent amount of rain, but less than what we'll see in the valley. Again, this is assuming that storm track holds, but we saw a big change over the last 24 hours. I would not be surprised to see another big change over the next 24 to 48 hours. So this is what our rainfall forecast says for this moment in time. This is not the kind of rain for the valley or for the foothills that would cause flooding, but with it potentially being the first widespread rainfall that we see, we don't have a whole lot of leaf drop yet in the valley, but there could be some of those gutters that back up. There could certainly be some ponding on roads. If your home gutters have stuff in them, This weekend is a good weekend to sweep those out, clear stuff away from your drains, and just make sure that water has somewhere to go. Probably only going to be a few hours where the rain actually comes down kind of hard, and at this point it looks like that could be Tuesday morning. I'm going to show you Futurecast and we'll time things out in a little bit, but I just want to leave this up so that folks can look at some of those rainfall totals. But we're kind of highlighting the Bay Area, the coastal hills, areas closest to where we think the center of the system is going to be. Those are the areas that see the most rainfall. All right, so that's rain. Snow may be underwhelming for some of you, if not most of you. So this is the other thing with a more westward track, is that we're not getting the moisture over the Sierra, at least not as much as we could if we had a more eastward shift with this system. So yeah, Donner and Echo Summit, not much. But any little bit, 1-2 inches over the summit at the right or wrong time, that's enough for spinouts. That could be enough for chain controls. The higher snow amounts are going to be more likely as you go south into eastern Tuolumne County over Sonora Pass and even into the South Sierra. Again, just like the storm track, this has changed a lot over the last 24 hours. Yesterday we were looking at these models, and I'll be honest, some of them were showing close to a foot of snow in Donner Summit and Echo Summit. But that just goes to show you how a shift in the storm track can have huge implications for the kind of weather that we actually end up experiencing. So we're going to keep watching for those little shifts in the storm track. All right, so that was a look at rain and snow totals. I'm going to take a break and see if we got any more questions during that. Chris is checking in from Lodi. Bill is asking about 80. At this point, it doesn't look like we're going to see a lot of snow over the summit on 80. But if you have travel plans Monday night, Tuesday, even into Wednesday, keep watching this forecast because, again, we saw a big swing with the snow headed to the south with this round. It could come right back. So at this point, I'm not worried about huge problems on 80, but every time we see the first real accumulating snow over the mountains, there's always issues. But right now, pretty minimal snow accumulation on 80 over Donner Summit, but still enough for it to be slippery. So we don't want to minimize that. We want people to have the cars ready for winter driving. If you put your chains away, you forgot where you put them, this weekend's a good time to start looking for them, just so you know where they are. Edmund's saying, sometimes after the rain, it seems like it's harder to breathe. That's not something I've noticed, but if you are maybe sensitive to mold or things like that, perhaps, or maybe you're just sensitive to the higher humidities, that's possible, but I'm not a doctor. Need to put that out there. All right, let's hop over to the YouTube channel. I'm kind of monitoring all of these at once, so if I don't get to your question right away, I'm doing my best to go back and peek. AKR Productions on YouTube is saying they love how the weather's cooling off. I do too. I love that it feels like fall. I love that things are changeable. They're also excited for the rain. How many inches of rain are we expecting? Inches, I don't know if I'd make that plural. It depends on where you are, but there will be spots in the valley that could see up to an inch of rain. The foothills, a little bit less than that. Placerville, Auburn, Nevada City, Grass Valley, maybe up to a half an inch or so. So a good beneficial rain, we'll call it. Not so much rain that we're going to see flooding, but enough rain to kind of staunch the wildfire risk, so that's all good there. AKR Productions also asking, is there any more 80 to 90 degree weather in our future? We could still squeak out some low 80s. We'll tell you, next week is looking like 60s, and the deeper we get into October, the harder it is to break into the 80s. I think we're done with 90s though, so we're done with anything like that. They're asking why other sites have different data for Sacramento, because we're forecasting, right? Nobody knows that they have the absolute right answer. We're never going to know until the weather actually happens, but we all look at the same data. We're just interpreting it differently. I will say local meteorologists like us here at KCRA. Hopefully we've got a better sort of finger on the pulse of how models do here. We can better correct for biases, and we can tailor the forecast to what we know you guys need. That's not something the Weather Channel can do. They're based in Atlanta. That's just my little spiel on that. All right, and Diana's saying she's excited about the change in the weather. Me too. So let's go over and time things out for you. So we're still 4 or 5 days out, so our high resolution models cannot see this just yet, but our longer range models, which don't have as good a resolution, we can give you a rough idea of what we're looking at here. So this model, this is the higher resolution version of the European model. Now I will say the GFS, the American model, and the European model are in pretty good agreement. That's nice to see. It was not the case 2 days ago. I'm going to show you the European just because it's got somewhat better resolution, but it is showing a very similar idea to what we're looking at with the GFS. So here we are, 8 p.m. Sunday. By the way, for your weekend plans, dry, cool for this time of the year, but overall very nice. So no issues this weekend. Here's 8 o'clock Monday morning. Clouds increasing for the valley, for the Sierra, but at this point dry, but you can see all the moisture here off the coast. Here's 5 o'clock Monday evening. This model's showing maybe some rain starting to move into the valley. Nothing quite yet into the Sierra, although you can see the wind arrows. You can see how the wind's pointing directly towards the Sierra. I wouldn't be surprised if we get some rain and snow showers going as the sun goes down on Monday. Overnight Monday, and here we go. This is where we could get into some of the juicier stuff. And notice the timing too. This is 7 o'clock Tuesday morning, so morning commute time. Could see a few hours of some soaking rain up and down the valley. I-5, 80, 99, all the major routes could be soaking wet. But again, I say all this with the major caveat that this is probably going to change. We will try to do updates like this as often as we can. I'll do another one of these maybe tomorrow. That could be a good idea. But for now, a soggy commute Tuesday morning. Tuesday afternoon, the heaviest of the rain moves away. This model, again, because it's not high resolution, it looks like we're still seeing widespread rain. I think this is going to be more showers as the low kind of pulls away. But notice here, here's Tahoe, Truckee's up here. That may be kind of a slushy mix over Donner Summit Tuesday afternoon, but the better snow is down into Mono County, Alpine County, and down into Inyo County in the South Sierra. So the Mammoth Lakes area may get some good snow. Their foliage is peaking right now, by the way. If you want to go up this weekend, I think that would be a great kind of last chance before this comes through. This is going to take a bunch of the leaves down early next week. So here's Tuesday evening. Again, I think these are just showers. The valley will be chilly, but drying out at this point. Snow may still be going along Highway 50 and south. 395 is probably going to be a mess as this goes through. And then this takes us into Wednesday morning. Pretty typical here. You can see the wind direction as the low pulls away. Kind of some wraparound showers with some snow on the east slope of the Sierra. Again, most of it south of Tahoe. Could see a few showers in the valley Wednesday morning. But hopefully you got the idea with this that Tuesday, especially in the morning, right now, looks like when we'll see the heaviest of the rain come through. So it'll be interesting to watch the winds. You could see them shifting as that comes through. And again, wind details are something that we'll figure out a little bit better as we get into tomorrow and Saturday. Some of our higher resolution models can pick that apart. Kevin is asking about a seasonal rainfall forecast. It's going to sound like a cop-out, but it's the truth. My forecasting expertise is the next 5 to 7 days. When you're talking about a rainfall forecast for an entire season, that requires a different skill set. You got to pay attention to this stuff daily. That's just not something that I do. I will say, any kind of seasonal forecast, especially a winter forecast for Northern California, I mean, good luck. We see the El Nino and La Nina forecasts, and I've done several stories showing data that just, El Nino and La Nina don't really mean anything for us. So I've yet to see a really useful seasonal forecast for Northern California in my time here. I've only been here, it'll be 4 years in December, but yeah, I just don't think a rainfall forecast for a season this far out, I just don't think that's doable. But we had 3 decent rain seasons the last 3 years. It'd be nice to keep it going, but we'll see. I like that we're starting, getting into mid-October here with, really promising signs for some good rains and, the kind of rain that kind of puts an end to our fire season. This would be really nice if this does come through. Richard's checking in from Lodi and Woodbridge. Hi, Richard. That's on my page. Justin on YouTube, we have a better idea tomorrow if the models shift again. Yeah, the models are probably going to shift day to day. Hopefully the closer we get to Monday night into Tuesday, the smaller those shifts are going to be. But we'll see tomorrow. The new, the next run of models will start coming in over the next hour. And by the time I go on TV tonight at 10 o'clock, we should have a full picture of what the, call it the 0Z run of the model, 0 Zulu time. That comes in at about 9:30. All right, I already covered some of the other questions in there. Stuart is asking about Friday night football. Kind of depends on where you are, but the overall idea is that Friday night is going to be cool. Bring your heavier jackets. If I were going to go sit at a football game, I think I'd be wearing my puffer. I don't know if I'd be taking gloves and a hat yet, but maybe a blanket to sit on if you got the metal bleachers. There could be a couple of very brief little showers that come through, but probably one of those things where, if you forgot the umbrella, it's probably going to be okay. It's not going to be a soaking rain. And that's most likely on the west slope of the Sierra, say from Highway 20 northward, so western Plumas County, maybe parts of Yuba County, getting into parts of Placer County. That may be the far southern extent. There could be a couple little sprinkles in the valley too, nothing measurable though. So it looks like football weather for Friday night football, which is good. Done with the heat. Becky says she is traveling from Shasta tomorrow. A couple sprinkles tomorrow. Maybe a couple, quick little downpours closer to Shasta as you get into the middle part of the day tomorrow, Becky, but nothing that's going to, cause any issues if you have to go over the passes over there. It's not cold enough yet for snow to cause issues. So, Becky, you may need the windshield wipers a couple of times coming from Shasta to Sacramento on Friday, but I don't see any big issues. William's asking about my dress and my cosplaying Star Trek. I get a Star Trek comment every time I wear this dress. The answer is no. It is funny, though. All right, and Craig is also checking in. Craig had been asking me about Ironman California, focusing on early next week for now. Ironman, of course, is next weekend. For right now, it looks dry, but this is kind of an unsettled pattern. I don't see anything big coming for Ironman, but that's something I'll be watching early next week. I'm a big fan of triathlons. I've raced quite a few of them since I've moved here. I've never done Ironman California. I don't think I ever want to do a full Ironman, but I volunteered a couple of times. And if you're around Sacramento next weekend, you have time to volunteer, highly recommend. It's so much fun, and the athletes really appreciate it. And that's my little pitch for the triathlon community. All right. Just checking in for any more forecast-related questions here. Not seeing any. So, again, this storm looks like more of a rain producer than anything, and it's probably going to be a beneficial rain. I'm not expecting flooding issues. There will probably be some areas where, water stands on roads, some of the roads that are kind of cambered a little heavily. It just, because we haven't had a real good widespread soaking rain yet, may need stuff to kind of clear the drains out, but not expecting big problems with this storm. It's just that It's been a while since we've driven in a widespread soaking rain. Tuesday morning, the commute really could be slow, at least as things look right now. Sierra travel, slick Monday night into Tuesday, but over 80 and 50, we're not talking, a foot of snow. We might be talking 1 or 2 inches at this point. Of course, if that changes, we're going to let you know ASAP. But if you do have travel plans in the mountains early next week, that's still a forecast for you to pay attention to. Because as hopefully I've impressed upon you, things can very easily change. But as those changes come in, I'm not going to be able to jump here whenever I want. We got news to do tomorrow. We will be publishing updates at kcra.com. If you don't have it yet, I recommend downloading the free KCRA app. We will send out notifications when we publish new information on the forecast, and you can also watch us live wherever you are. That's actually how I watch our shows most of the time when I'm at home. I'm very rarely sitting in front of a television. I know lots of people are up doing lots of things, so I like watching on my phone. Maybe you do too. All right, there's a plug for the app too. Okay, I think we covered a lot of the bases. Good looking storm coming through Monday night into Tuesday. Nothing is etched in stone yet, but we can be hopeful for some good rain and, well, at this point, kind of some snow, but enough to cause some issues. Right, I'm going to go and get ready for our 10 and 11 o'clock newscasts, look at some of the latest data here in about an hour, but you'll be hearing from me again